Chapter 3. Of Shadows and Secrets. The room, a kaleidoscope of colors and forms, seemed to stretch on for miles. Shelves filled with ancient tomes, peculiar artifacts, and vessels of unknown substances rose high above Margot's head. The air buzzed with a quiet energy, a hum that resonated in her very bones. "Welcome to the repository, Miss Margot," Mr. Ainsworth announced, his voice filled with pride. "It is here that the true heart of the Emporium resides, where the lines that separate the mundane from the extraordinary become blurred." Margot gazed around the room, her eyes wide with wonder. Every surface seemed to shimmer and shift, as if the very walls were alive. It was as though the room itself was breathing, pulsating with an energy that was both exhilarating and unsettling. Mr. Ainsworth guided Margot through the repository, explaining the significance of various objects and the role they played in maintaining the delicate balance between the worlds. As they walked, Margot noticed a section of the room that seemed to be shrouded in shadow. The light, it seemed, was hesitant to touch it. "What lies within that darkness, Mr. Ainsworth?" Margot inquired, her voice hushed in reverence. The master of the Emporium glanced towards the shadowed corner, his face somber. "There are some secrets, Miss Margot, that are best left undisturbed. The Emporium holds many wonders, but it also holds darkness, forces that, if unleashed, could bring about unimaginable destruction." Margot shuddered at the thought, but knew that her curiosity would forever itch at her mind, a seed firmly planted within her soul. As they continued through the repository, Mr. Ainsworth began to instruct Margot on the various duties she would undertake as an apprentice. She would be responsible for cataloging and maintaining the myriad of objects that filled the repository, as well as assisting in the acquisition of new items and the nurturing of the delicate balance between the worlds. The gravity of her new role weighed heavily on Margot's shoulders, but it was a burden she accepted willingly. She knew that she had been given an opportunity that few would ever experience, and she was determined to prove herself worthy of the trust placed in her. Days stretched into weeks, and Margot devoted herself to her new position with a fervor that bordered on obsession. She dove into her studies, absorbing knowledge and wisdom from the ancient tomes that lined the repository's shelves. She learned to decipher the languages of long-lost civilizations, to unravel the mysteries of arcane artifacts, and to walk the fine line between the realms of the ordinary and the extraordinary. But as she delved deeper into the secrets of the Emporium, the shadowed corner continued to haunt her thoughts. The darkness seemed to call to her, a siren song that whispered through the still air of the repository. One evening, as twilight cast its muted glow over the city of Larkin, Margot found herself alone in the repository. Mr. Ainsworth had been called away on urgent business, leaving her to tend to her duties in solitude. With trepidation, Margot approached the shadowed corner, her heart pounding in her chest. The darkness seemed to pulse, an almost tangible force that beckoned her closer. As she stepped into the shadows, she felt the world shift around her, the air growing colder, the atmosphere heavier. Within the darkness, Margot discovered a hidden alcove, filled with objects that seemed to defy the very laws of nature. There were items that seemed to exist in multiple places at once, others that seemed to exist outside of time itself. As she explored the alcove, her fingers brushing against the cold surfaces, she felt a thrill of both fear and exhilaration course through her veins. Unbeknownst to Margot, her actions had set in motion a chain of events that would reshape not only her own destiny, but the very fate of Larkin itself. For within the shadows, secrets lay dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken and reclaim their place in the world. And it was Margot, the girl who had dared to step beyond the ordinary, who had unwittingly become the catalyst for their reemergence.